Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Patrick NotPicard Stewart. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. Full Force Weekly! There you go. That's the intro done. Pat, just for the sake of it, what's your favourite sandwich?
My favourite sandwich?
Yes.
Really catching me off guard, putting me on the spot here.
That was the whole point.
Peanut butter and jelly. It's been years.
Nice. Pat goes with the American classic PB&J.
And the jelly has to be great.
Okay. Nice.
And
nice
nothing
touch.
crunchy. I don't want my jelly or my peanut butter crunchy.
So just
neither one of them.
What kind of
both happen.
Are we talking like standard white bread as well then in that case?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much, I guess. I might go with like the multi-grain sometimes.
Cut the crusts off.
I don't know what's happening this week. We're not 5 minutes in and you're cutting the crust off my bread.
Amazing intro. That is the best intro we've ever done. I'm so happy I randomly
I'm
asked
curious
you.
to see how you segue.
Oh, mate, there's no segue at all. Right, okay, so let's get stuck into, after sandwich news, let's get stuck into combined gaming and toy news. Yes, the massive news, unless you've been living in a remote log cabin in the high Sierras with extremely poor internet and zero phone service for a week, then you probably did hear about Snake Eyes Edition 2, Epic Games' very own cultural phenomenon gaming experience, Fortnite. They dropped the reveal last Saturday evening with yeah, that's right, it was last Saturday evening, it's been a while, with a design very close to the G.I. Joe classified figure, and lo and behold, Hasbro went and dropped their collab Redeco 0-point figure on Pulse at the same time. The in-game Arashikage set will cost you 1,800 V-Bucks. Yeah, I have no idea either. And the figure pre-order was $39.99. The new deco includes some lighter grey elements, and his loadout is very fun indeed, with launchers, plunger bombs and some cool grenades, alongside some of his more classic weapons and gear. Pat, what do you think about this figure starting off with? I mean, was this out of nowhere, or was I being an idiot for not realising this is something that would happen?
I had no idea that this would be a thing at all. So, out of nowhere, I would say yes. I think that it's a great looking figure. I think that the fact that it comes with Fortnite accessories,
yes,
appeals to some of the people who are playing Fortnite, because the figure appears in there is great, but it also doesn't necessarily scream Fortnite for those of us who are not familiar with the game.
True.
So it meets the best of both worlds, I think.
Yeah, I really like some of the kind of aspects to this redeco, as it were. Like there's like some of those kind of little grey accents, which didn't seem as prominent on the initial reveal by Fortnite themselves, but definitely came through when the figure was shown off.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of Renegade's Snake Eyes.
Yes.
Before, but a lot of people were telling me that they thought that they actually preferred this one to the two Snake Eyes figures that have been out already. So it's a positive sign.
I mean, there's obviously definitely more kind of color pops going on this figure, isn't there? Like, obviously the standard retail release is just all black, which is, again, it's one of those ones you kind of need still, because that's how Snake Eyes is seen and kind of like, most well known and is in all his iterations. But then obviously the one that was the deluxe that started the classified line with those kind of like nice subtle browns and those other kind of little grey, kind of dark grey. So it's all very much still dark, but it's like, really, again, like some really cool subtle coloured deco pops. But this is it's more gamified. It's more in your face. It's a little brighter. And I think it does work, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted a little bit more pop to the visor. Some people, anyway. I think that the figures that have come out have been true to the original one, where the original visor on the 85 Snake Eyes was gray. but it wasn't silver or very, very different from the black of the figure. But this one pops a little bit more, and that's what some people associate with Snake Eyes as the visor. So having that be very, very prominent, that's what some people want.
Yeah, totally. I think they're definitely accentuating some of his iconic details there, and obviously they've added the G.I. Joe star logo to the shoulder. We still obviously have the Arashikage emblems kind of adorning him everywhere. And also, like, let's talk about that accessory loadout, because that is magnificent, I think. All sorts of fun things included there. Like, I love the kind of plunger bomb thing, and like the deco on the grenades is really cool. I mean, like anything there that kind of stands out to you?
I think that this was a good way of including Fortnite, was including it in the accessories. That way, if you're not a fan of the game, you could still pick up the figure and just not use those accessories. I'm kind of curious to see what they look like on him, because I don't think there was an actual picture of him wearing the grenade bandolier, was there?
I can't remember offhand. The ones that they showed, the ones that just out there on the day of reveal, I believe it was just his kind of Arashikage kind of secondary, and the bandolier wasn't. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't actually over the figure at all. So yeah, make that that again. That's another addition to that figure's kind of visuals that we haven't really seen yet.
Yeah, so I think for sure that's a good way of including some Fortnite stuff for Fortnite fans, is through the accessories. That way they can either be on or not on the figure. That's a lot of good design choices, I think.
I'm just checking Pulse now, actually, and yeah, the bandolier, they don't even show that on there. It's just part of the weapon loadout and everything. But he has actually finally sold out. It was, I think, up until maybe even like yesterday, I was still seeing pushes from Fortnite socials, from Hasbro, G.I. Joe brand, Facebook pages and stuff, pushing that, get it before it sells out kind of thing. And that was like, it's been out for a good week. So if you haven't been able to pick one up, it's been out for a week. Like, there's no excuse there, is there really?
Right, and it's not shipping until next January. So I'm fairly certain that these are quantities that they're looking to figure out how many they're going to need to manufacture. I'm probably cutting it off at a certain number, but I would think, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think that the Fortnite community, half of the interest of this would take maybe a little while longer to hear about an action figure that they may want to purchase. So
yeah,
maybe part of it as well. The G.I. Joe community heard about it and ordered it. A lot of us ordered it within the first hour that it was up.
First minute.
Yeah, first minute. But I think that it's not a bad thing that maybe it took a week, because that means that orders were open long enough that some of the people playing Fortnite may have actually gotten the chance to order the figure. I think we all know how it feels to see an action figure pop up and to not be able to order it, especially across the past year. So the fact that it's been up for a week, I think is a positive thing for those Fortnite fans. We may actually be drawing new fans into G.I. Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are going to be people that collect Fortnite figures that aren't necessarily Joe fans as well. So that's another kind of another market that I think they've kind of tapped into there. What do you think of the packaging, by the way? Are you a fan of that kind of crossover packaging? For
sure. I think that again, the figure can come out of the package if you're not a fan of Fortnite. If you are a fan of Fortnite, it's nice to have it be presented that way. But if you're not, it's just the packaging. The figure can come out. But as far as the collection go, it's something that pops a little bit. I'm curious to see how large it is in relation to the figure, because I don't think that we saw a picture of the figure in the package, did we?
No, I'm guessing it'll be similar in its height to classified boxes, because it's quite a depthy box by the looks of things. So I imagine the what do you call it? The accessories are kind of, able to kind of like sit in that space nice and comfortably. But who knows? I don't even know if it's a window inside, if it's just, you slide it open and it's open, or you've got to open another box, or, because I get the feeling there's a slip cover over the top of it, but it could be...
Cover one of those doors, maybe?
Possibly a door, yeah.
you could take it off, and maybe the accessories would be nicely displayed. It's always nice display in the package too.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me actually if they haven't finalized the packaging yet, and that's just like a mock-up, because it does also look like the figure they're showing is photoshopped a touch, as opposed to like being, an actual figure. I could be completely wrong there, obviously, but the fact that it's a year off does suggest to me that there's maybe some finalizing to be done, and possibly packaging as well. But coming back to what you said about how big that package could be, it could be a lot bigger. It could be in between like a standard classified figure and like this deluxe Snake Eyes or something. Maybe even something closer to the Snake Supreme box, where you've got a little bit more going on with that particular figure.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Something smaller than the deluxe Snake Eyes, but closer in size to a regular classified figure.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Anyway, I'm sure we'll find out eventually. They'll be doing Hasbro will be dropping those little things on the Hasbro Pulse website, the unboxed kind of little stories and stuff like that. So that's always fun to check out. Let's move on then. That's Fortnite and Snake Eyes, and again, quite excited. It's always exciting to get a figure reveal, even if it's a redeco. I'm always like really excited that there's another item within that line that we can kind of get involved with. So kind of big excitement around that for myself personally. Now, in licensing news, Icon Heroes have announced the license acquisition for both G.I. Joe and Transformers brands, and based on the products they've produced for properties like Cobra Kai, Ghostbusters, Street Fighter 2 and many, many more, we could expect to see pin badges, statues, vinyl figures and bobbleheads of the famous characters featured in each iconic brand. There could be a slight possibility that we see 7-inch, and as Pat has quite eloquently put in the notes, even though it says 6-inch in a lot of places, we believe those figures are actually 7 inches in size. We could be seeing action figures like that, much like their recent Karate Kid products. Pat, what are your thoughts about that then, in terms of what would you expect Icon Heroes to be doing with those brands?
I kind of took a look at their website to see what they were offering for other brands, to just kind of get an idea of what they're about. And pins, some very nice metal pins are all across the other brands, so I would expect those for sure. And bobbleheads seem to be very common. I don't know that they would be sending off a roughly 6-inch figure or 7-inch figure to another company. I think that it would even be a little bit strange.
Yeah.
They're 7-inch figures. And like, it's just going to be weird to have G.I. Joe in a scale that's roughly 1 inch larger than classified. And if not 1 inch larger, then it would be weird to have another company making them that are the same size. Like, either option is strange to me.
No, I agree. I think that would... It doesn't feel like that's what they would do with the brand. It's more likely that we'll get numerous different kind of merchandise, instead of like the pins and the vinyl figures and the statues and that kind of stuff. I could see that being done. Do you think if they do statues, we're getting into a rather ridiculous statue scenario with G.I. Joe again? Or are you happy to see the brand kind of being utilized so heavily at the moment?
Well, with statues, that's a little bit different than just figures, where we have... I mean, I guess we have very specific expectations anyway, but with statues, it's almost like they're permanently posed, for one thing, and each artist's interpretation of the character is so different.
Yeah.
That, I think there's a lot of pick and choose that goes on with statues, maybe even more so than figures. So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I could see these ones looking quite different than what has been out there. So, I mean, if they can sell them, I'm happy to have the other options.
You could feasibly have every single scale of statue in the last 4 years in the G.I. Joe kind of, like you can have Prime 1 Serpentor, you can have PCS Collectibles Serpentor. I get the feeling that eventually you'll just have this like slow cascade of the same character statue, like going all the way down, because it kind of feels like there's a lot of statue companies. I mean, Icon Heroes, like I said, Prime 1, like I said, PCS. There's another one, isn't there, that I'm forgetting?
I honestly, I can't even keep track.
I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's like even we're struggling with it, and we report on it every single time it comes out. Like I'm lost in the GI Joe merchandising world right now.
Yeah, but again, I think that some of these interpretations could be a little bit more toward the Sunbow style, a little toward the packaging art, a little more toward the comic book, or an entirely new style. Like there's so many options that they can do with a statue that I just think that it's fine to have multiples of them out there.
Are you looking forward to seeing what they do with the Transformers brand as well? Because, again, we're probably in a similar situation in what we've already discussed. You've got the Red Series, which is 6-inch Transformers for Hasbro. So it's, again, kind of unlikely that we'll see something like that action figure-wise from them? Or do you think it could happen?
Well, you also... Did you just say that you also have Super 7?
No, I didn't. But there's another company that own this brand. Holy crap.
Super 7 just revealed those 4 Transformers articulated figures as well, which look really good. And I watched the interview with them actually with Pixel Dan. It was really
brilliant! Yeah, Pixel Dan does amazing work.
Does. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do with Transformers. Maybe they will do something consistent with Transformers and GI Joe, because there is a lot of crossover appeal there between the fans, I would think. So maybe there would be bobbleheads. For some reason, I'm feeling bobbleheads on it. We'll see.
Is that something that you actually want to happen as well?
No, not really.
Amazing.
I just don't really collect bobbleheads, but they do sell very well. And much like Funko Pops, they're a thing that appeals to a completely different crowd.
Yeah.
And bring more people into the brand. And anytime, I think, you can bring more people into the brand, it's a positive thing.
I must admit, bobbleheads strike me as almost like because they've seemed to have been going for so many years. Like I remember seeing 80s kind of music videos and old movies where you'd have a bobblehead being utilized to show that, oh my god, there's an earthquake, or there's something's coming, some big monster's coming, or something like that. In fact, I think it was in Michael Jackson's Black or White video that I remember the baseball bobbleheads on the shelf wobbling around. I might have made that up, but I believe that happened in Macaulay Culkin's bedroom on that particular video. In any case, with bobbleheads, I feel like there's been this progression into what Funko does now. And I know it's not like bobbleheads as such, but it's that kind of big head, little body kind of thing. And it just feels like the progression from bobbleheads to what Funko do now in their Pops line is kind of what's happened over the years. But bobbleheads have still kind of been around. I know NECA do them. They do loads of different bobblehead figures, don't they?
Yeah, I thought that bobbleheads were kind of how Funko got started. If I'm not,
yeah, it could be. It could be.
I'm pretty sure that they did. I thought that they got their foothold doing some bobbleheads of characters of various mascots as well.
Wasn't it the mascot? The first one was was it not the Big Boy mascot, but something like that, like a fast food restaurant mascot? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
I watched the Funko documentary about that, and I thought that was quite interesting, actually.
But I think that they tapped into something there, and so there really is. I mean, saying this to a bunch of people who collect GI Joes, maybe they're not aware that there really is a market for people that mainly collect bobbleheads. So if Icon Heroes can put out some really quality GI Joe and Transformers bobbleheads, we will be tapping into that market for sure.
Totally. Okay, well, next up then, we have very random 2.5-inch minifigure news. Officially licensed G.I. Joe minifigurines by Prexio Toys have started to appear in 99-cents only stores in LA. Images popped up on Facebook a few days ago showing the low-cost classified design versions with 0 points of articulation, both carded and loose, Snake Eyes, Duke and Roadblock for the Joes on blue card backs, and Red Ninja, Destro and Cobra Commander on red cards for the baddies. They are legit Hasbro licensed products and came out of nowhere. Thoughts on these, please, Pat? Speaking of markets, there's a low-cost dollar store market that, is probably good to have these in?
Yeah, they're definitely cheap, and something that a kid may get on a whim. You walk into a dollar store, it's not really hard to convince the parents to buy a small action figure or something. And the packaging on these looks really good and appealing. So I can see a kid at some point getting this for $1. I'm picturing these in Dollar Tree, even though that's not where they've shown up. I totally expect them to.
Yeah.
And I think that knowing Dollar Tree's toy aisle, because I was looking for some Transformers stuff there not that long ago, these will stand out a little bit. And I think that maybe you'll introduce some kids to G.I. Joe this way, and then hopefully they will move on to some better figures after.
I mean, they are. I mean, yeah, they're super basic. They're like cheap and nasty. But again, I find a charm to this kind of stuff as well. Like I look at those sets and I immediately was like, I need them. I need them in my possession. And we'll get into the shout outs later to explain how that has happened. But do you get the same feeling? Is it one of those things that you think there's definitely a place for this kind of stuff?
I actually look at them and think that there's a promise of more. Maybe I'm wrong. But with the Transformers, and I don't want to just talk about Transformers all the time, wear the shirt and the hoodie and your Transformers show for the week. But looking what's going on with Transformers, I think that could apply to what's happening with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Rexio released some Transformers as well that showed up at Dollar Tree. And the strange things, well, there's a couple of strange things about those. For one, they were the same as some figures that they had previously released to, I want to say it's Coney Amusement Parks. And I thought the reports were that was in Peru. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But it's like you had these miniature figures showing up at an amusement park, and then suddenly they're available for $1 at Dollar Tree, which was great. But the point that I want to make is that those sculpts on them have kind of shown up in two other places. Prior to them showing up as little figures at Dollar Tree, there were actually keychains at Dollar Tree that you could also get. And then if you look at the Super Impulse world's smallest Transformers that I see now at some Target stores, not every Target has them. If you go into like that keychain and trinket section of Target, sometimes they'll have them there, and they do have G.I. Joe ones as well. You'll just kind of see that the sculpt on the Optimus Prime and Starscream and Bumblebee is very similar to those larger figures that were available at Dollar Tree. So I think what could be happening here is that Hasbro licensing may actually have a 3D model that they have sent places. Because anytime you're sending out a license, usually there's like a style guide or that you want all your licensees to have the same style as what you're going for with G.I. Joe. You don't want somebody just making a Snake Eyes of their own. You want it to be consistent. So I think that maybe they're actually sending out a 3D model, and this is my long-winded way of saying that I think that those 3D models may be used for other things.
Yeah.
To me, like they're the Titan Heroes larger figures, scaled down very much. You could almost even see the 5 points of articulation that would be in the hips on those figures. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this same lineup again as keychains or in a different scale.
Yeah, keychains, Christmas ornaments, and yeah, you're right. Like the Titan Heroes, it's effectively that same figure but without the articulation. So yeah, I think you're 100% right on that one. The other thing I should say, and also relating to your comment there about Style Guide, is the card backs obviously hold a lot of classified artwork and style and design and color, all that kind of stuff. You've got Scarlet, Snake Eyes and Roadblock on the Joe's card, and then you've got Baroness, Storm Shadow and Cobra Commander on the Cobra card, which is hilarious because obviously Baroness and Storm Shadow and Scarlet don't appear in that first wave of figures, at least. Do you expect more to come out of this, or do you think this will be kind of like a cutesy one and done thing?
I think it's a one and done, but I think that, well, again, comparing it to the Transformers, whenever the Transformers came to Dollar Tree, there has not been a wave two. And Wave one showed up multiple times, so they were in ample quantity. I think that these are the kind of thing, though, that for the way that the package looks, it'd be really nice to get one of those like plastic strips. Like just displaying these in my mind is a lot about the package because it really does scream GI Joe so well. So I'm picturing getting one of those plastic strips you sometimes see. You can pick multiple card items.
Yeah.
And maybe putting one of those on display in the collection room. I think
with a little flex out bit of plastic that acts as a hook kind of thing that you just go. Yeah. That's a great idea. And I agree with you. I think in package they look kind of cute, but then when you take them out, they're like, just like Duke's eyebrows are like halfway up his head and look hilarious. If they are actually eyebrows, they could just be his eye paint. But I don't know. It's quite funny that.
Yeah, but they look so cheap that it'd be for $1, just get one for in and out of the package.
Totally. I know, super cheap as well, which is great. Okay, well, moving then into the more expensive realm of G.I. Joe toys, and in classified news, Zartan, Cobra Infantry, and the new Roadblock and Scarlet redecos have been showing up in Walgreens. That's it. That's the tweet. Excited to get those boyos, and even if you've pre-ordered, will you still be getting them if you see them out and about, Pat? Also, I should say that I did also get an email today from Pulse saying that Zartan is pushed to April, which is a bit of a shame, but kind of expected when you're dealing with Hasbro Pulse, and this is why you buy it in multiple places so that you get one early as opposed to April. So first off, what do you think about Walgreens picking those up, and will you be getting them in Walgreens if you see them?
Honestly, I probably won't, only because the fact that it will be just so much more convenient to get all of them from the same place. I already have them pre-ordered from Big Bad Toy Store. So rather than worrying about having to unload just one figure, I just will be happy to get my case or set whenever it comes in. So I probably won't go to Walgreens hunting them. I've definitely had plenty of hunting for toys lately that has me a little bit tired.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly happy just waiting for mine, honestly.
I've got like about 6 people that are hunting for me. I feel like a hunting agency is what I feel like. Bit gutted about Zartan being pushed, but at the same time, and also I should say as well, I did hear that I did order like a case of 6 Cobra Infantry from Roma Collectibles, and that's been pushed as well. I guess because there are certain retailers that get this stuff first. The first lot of infantry have been in mixed cases, and then these new full solid cases of troopers are coming later. So again, a little bit kind of about that, but I'll get it eventually. It's fine. But again, it's really testing the patience, isn't it? This toy collecting malarkey this year.
Oh, big time. I still don't have my Target figures, and that's been an ordeal that I'm sure everyone is aware of.
But yes, I mean, it's been just like the most intense year, and it's coming up to about a year when you take into consideration Toy Fair last year, when we kind of were introduced to this stuff, when we had the Snake Eyes deluxe figure coming, which I think, if I remember rightly, was quite a quick turnaround for like I certainly got mine very quickly after pre-ordering, way quicker than I thought was going to be the case. And obviously we were seeing images from the Far East, we were seeing images from retailers on the East Coast getting some stuff, weren't we, as well, like early doors. And I remember that it was a really quick turnaround initially, and that was such a false dawn, because ever since then it has been like delays, and I don't know, it's just been like one after the other issue, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think that maybe they knew going out of the gate they needed that positive impression. We don't really know what the production schedule was like. I would imagine that they front loaded things though, and they knew whenever these things were first going to ship that there'd be a big demand. So make sure that you have plenty produced in advance, and that's probably why that deluxe Snake Eyes was able to work out so well. But I think one of the things we're up against right now is the Chinese New Year, because
Yeah,
that probably explains the delays you're seeing in the full cases, as well as the delay of Zartan. If you don't hit things prior to the Chinese New Year, as far as shipping goes, that usually delays things for a whole month at least. And things usually have to get back up and running, because I know that whenever I've had things shipped from China, from people directly there, it's usually, if I don't get it by February, there's the month of February whenever that Chinese New Year happens to start. Not as familiar with it, I guess, as I should be. I should keep track of actually when it is. But once that hits, you've got pay rate increases usually after Chinese New Year begins in
yeah.
China, so that sometimes changes the prices of things. And then you have you just have a long lull without being able to ship anything. Things just have to get started going again. So I think that if it doesn't hit by Chinese New Year, they probably tack on a little extra time.
Yeah.
In addition to the amount of time that people actually take off in China, because it just takes a little while to get going again.
And I know Hasbro have got, I'm not sure if it's 50-50 right now. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I know Brian Goldner discussed this in a recent Yahoo Finance kind of interview. But they have factories in Vietnam as well, don't they? So I think it's like, I do think it's like a 50-50 split, but it might be different now, or it might be, I don't know what the situation is. But I can guarantee that even in Vietnam, there's going to be issues with the factory in terms of the amount of people that are working there at the moment. You know, like that's going to be probably an issue. Very similar to like the fact that most of China's factories are at like 20-30% at the most in terms of people working in them.
Yeah, maybe I should actually take a look at the Joes to see if they say made in China or Vietnam on them.
China.
Okay.
China. Yeah.
So all that stuff that I just said was pertinent.
Absolutely. For classified, 100% yes. In any case, I don't know where we are at now, but this has been fun.
Everything else I've said has been garbage.
Everything else you said has been utter crap, but that was right. But yes, I imagine Hasbro are all over the place at the moment with their distribution and their production and all that stuff. It must be, I can't, I mean, it must be a nightmare. You know, I have close ties to a couple of, you know, toy companies that I know, you know, people involved in those kind of things. And I know they're having an absolute, you know, nightmare at times. Nothing to the point of like collapse, but just real difficulties that, you know, that you just can't really do anything about until the current climate is fixed. So there's a lot of issues there that kind of hang over these, especially the smaller toy companies. Like it's difficult if it's difficult for Hasbro and Mattel, then it's going to be difficult for everybody. Anyway, moving on then, and in beer-related news, even though I don't drink alcohol, I think these are amazing. The Adroit Theory the Adroit Theory Brewing Company have released posters of their special G.I. Joe themed can and glass artwork, including Cobra Commander, Destro, Baroness, Zartan, Serpentor, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes. They look amazing, and you can purchase them via their website. And big shout out to Adroit, who did actually deliver the glasses to me a couple of days ago, and they are awesome. They're like the taller glasses, and they're a little bit like, you know, thinner, but they are so, the quality, I was just blown away like with the quality of these. The art looks really like, you know, sometimes when you've got like a product like a mug or a glass, and it's kind of got the kind of screen printed kind of thing on it, sometimes it doesn't line up at the back, or it's a little off and doesn't look right. These are perfect. Like, there's no seam. It's just it's just beautiful. And the artwork, I mean, what do you think about the artwork?
I think it looks good. I think this is definitely a nice artistic style, and it's not something you see on everything G.I. Joe. Like we were talking about those style guides. You know, this is something that doesn't look like the G.I. Joe packaging, because it is its own artwork, and yet it really, really works. You know, as far as those glasses go, again, I kind of think that with tumblers that you see in the store, the common thing to do now, I don't think, is to not just how do I word that? It's not just not lining up your screen printing. A lot of times it's just a sticker. So the fact that those things are painted, they've already put out a very good quality product of G.I. Joe. So I would expect that if you're into posters, that these are going to be really good.
I know, I'm kind of tempted to get a few because I really do dig their take on the art, and that Snake Eyes is really cool. Like, I love the fact they've kind of packed him out with loads of gear on like the lower half, like very tactical. But then he's got his two swords as well, and just I love how the flag's bleeding behind him as well. It's just really interesting visual stuff going on there, and there's a simplicity to the art lines, but then you look at it closely, and there's actually tons of detail, tons of texture. There's like three, like it initially just looks like a two-tone image, but there's like, I would count maybe 6 or 7 different colors just on that line art itself, like the blue, the kind of creamy yellow, and then different tones and shades, and then a red kind of layer for like, you know, the like the explosion lighting kind of thing. It's really, really good, and I can't say enough good things about the glass work. It's incredible. I kind of want to grab one and show you live. This would be really good live TV if I dropped them on live TV, wouldn't it? Could you imagine? I'm going to delicately put them down there. The other thing is, yes, they're delicate. They're glassware, for goodness sake, but there's a sturdiness to them. As I say that, I drop it and it explodes everywhere. But like, just to give you an idea, here's the Snake Eyes one with Riot written on it. And again, it's all the way around. It's just seamless, beautiful kind of work. And like, these little sections are really nice as well. Like, you know, just really, I don't know, I just really like them. I think they're really nice. And again, you know, just to kind of give you that's what the inside of a glass looks like.
I'd like to hear your thought process on those other two sections to see, you know, what exactly they were, what was really going into it. Because you could see the sswords.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes inspired.
There's an eye in there, so maybe that's got something to do with it, you know, like, yeah. I think there's an element of just, you know, design going into that as opposed to an homage to G.I. Joe in any way, shape or form. But again, like this one, hard to really kind of gauge anything that's kind of G.I. Joe there or Cobra, but it's really nice. And this is the main part for me. Like, that artwork is so striking, and each one is a different, you know, thing. This is Riot for Snake Eyes, which I quite like. And we've got Serpentor here as well, which is another one of my faves. A great take on Serpentor, I think, artistically. Regime as well. That's nice. You've got this kind of really interesting double Cobra logo behind him in blue and red. And yeah, again, just really nice. And, you know, just super nice quality, really awesome stuff that I'm going to put on the floor there and hope my dogs don't break. Yes. So yeah, again, if you're into the posters, great. And there were a few people were saying like, it's an expensive set and everything, but it's glassware, and I think it was only $125, and you get like, I think you get Destro, Cobra Commander, Serpentor, Baroness, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes, Zartan. You get 7. I mean, to me, that is not expensive for glassware. Anyway, that's what they were, what they are. I'm not sure. I don't think they're doing another run of them necessarily. They may do in the future, but for the most part, it's looking like they're not going to be rerunning them. So unfortunately, you know, if you wanted to get in on them, then you'd had to have been there when they were kind of put out the pre-orders originally. So apologies about bigging them up and then you're not able to get them, but the poster art is out there and that's just as glorious. So we'll throw a link to the website in the description as well, so you guys can check that out. Anyway, moving on then, Pat, and we have something that's very close to both of our hearts, I would say, and that is Micro Machines. Series 3 of the Micro Machines line by Wicked Cool Toys / Jazzwares and licensed by Hasbro, I hope you got all that, will be hitting Target shelves over the next few weeks or so. So keep an eye out for those. It feels as though we only just had Series 2 and even a late Series 1 cargo plane very recently, but I'm not complaining. And thanks to the Series 3 insert leaflet, which I have here in said cargo plane, we now know what's coming in the new lineup. As well as 2 new Series 2 playsets, an off-road track and a police station, we're also getting new chase figures. They will be in red and are called Treasures. All the usual single packs, starter packs and world packs will be coming, and 2 more new haulers. The Protection Force also gets some repaints in Series 3, which of course means more G.I. Joe homages. Are you excited for these, Pat?
I'm definitely happy to see the set that is G.I. Joe inspired getting some more attention, because I know that I will be hunting for probably 2 of those. Is that right? Because
yes, Viper is a treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I've kind of been studying this now for like days, but on the cargo plane, it says Series 1, so I'm guessing lots of spanners were thrown in the works during the Micro Machines production as well, because we've got series coming out all left, right and centre in all sorts of different ways, and we've got leaflets that say Series 1 but have Series 2 stuff on, say Series 2 and have Series 3 and so on. We have all these different random crossovers on the leaflets. So I've got a feeling that plans have changed over the last, year or so, and certain things have been shifted around. Now, the Protection Force do drop their helicopter in the second release of the Protection Force, and they get an off-road buggy, which is kind of cool, which I'm not sure I've seen yet. I think that might be new to the line.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the picture of it that's in there that you showed me is the only thing that I've seen of that. So I'm wondering if it has any kind of a G.I. Joe connotation at all to it once we really look at it.
Yeah, from what I could see, I was hoping it'd be like an ore striker or something.
Yeah,
because
it's not quite an ore striker, I don't think.
No, it looks a little bit like a generic kind of buggy, just like a little dune buggy type thing. But we'll see when that one comes out. Another thing I wanted to mention as well, which someone actually did point out the other day on the post that I made of, oh my god, I've got Series 3 pictures. They said, does it look like they're doing some sort of Transformers Constructicon color theme with some of those work vehicles? And I kind of have to agree. They've done a whole green set with the crane, the dump truck, the bulldozer, the backhoe, and they've included a Warlander 4x4 in this one, so we don't get the other ones. But there's also a 3-pack, which is like slightly teal colour as well, that have a couple of the other excavators and front-end loaders and cement mixers and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that, Pat?
I actually considered that because I've seen some of the construction vehicles at Target, and I looked at the pack and thought, well, that's weird that they are picking a lot of the characters that are the same as in Devastator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to be missing one. It's not like there's a 6-pack of Micro Machines anywhere. I don't believe. But the fact that they're even creating this catalog of vehicles that are similar to Transformers and G.I. Joe could lend to the possibility of some exclusives at some point. I think that a San Diego Comic-Con situation may be a little bit of a better opportunity to do one of those crossovers. I don't know. I don't know if that's in the plans, but now that the tooling exists, I think that it would be a lot easier to make it happen.
Absolutely. And just, if they really went overboard with the actual crossover, it would be brilliant.
Yeah.
But another thing...
Boulder Hill to me as well.
Oh, yeah, the off-road does look like Boulder Hill, absolutely. That's another thing. It had... What is interesting about this, and I get really nerdy with this shit because I love Micro Machines, but at the bottom of this particular part of the leaflet, we've got Playsets Series 2. Now, we didn't see playsets when Series 2 was out in stores necessarily. The cargo plane has Series 1 on it, so I was kind of always confused as to why they didn't continue with the playset theme, because they brought loads out in the first wave, and then I thought, well, maybe was it like a combination of 1 and 2 just dumped out in the first wave? Did they have to change their minds on those things? But it does turn out that Series 2 does have playsets. We have 4 vehicles on here, but it doesn't show the playsets on here. It does show 2 new playsets on the cargo plane box. What is weird, though, is obviously one of them is an off-road track, which is like Boulder Hill, similar looking thing that you would like to see a little gas station stuck on. And the police cruiser obviously comes with the police station. So those are new. But we have vehicles that have appeared in the line, slightly different. So the ladder truck didn't come with the first release of the fire station. It was the I forget what it's called now. It's just like a different version. It's like a similar vehicle but without the ladder, heavy duty truck or something it's called. And the Passo Fino, which has come out in green already but has this black bonnet hood type thing going on for the car wash, which I'm guessing. So I'm guessing fire station and car wash, which have already come out in Series 1 and had different vehicles with them. So to me, it's kind of weird that we're seeing this, and on the back of the cargo plane we have Series 2 playsets, which include 2 playsets which have already come out. So are we going to see new vehicles put in these older playsets and re-released? Is that what they're doing here, Pat, do you think?
It's a very good question. I don't know. It could be like what you said, production schedules being weird. I mean, product and colors may vary. Maybe those will pop up somewhere else, or maybe you're going to actually, hopefully at the very least, see a redeco of those playsets.
That would be great. If we got like a redecoed fire station and a redecoed car wash, 100%, that'd be fantastic. I would be surprised if they released them again with different exclusive vehicles in them. That would be very confusing and would make for an absolute like terrible hunt again, wouldn't it, for us to go on. But yeah, I'm all in for these, and I've been ticking off what I have, and I'm literally so close to completing things. It's like just a couple of chase vehicles here because they're in blind bags. Then it's like chase vehicles here because the blind bags haven't come out yet. So it's like, I don't know. I love this line, and that cargo plane, which I picked up recently from Adam, who sent it to me, and it took like 6 weeks to get to me. It's been on a hell of a journey by the looks of things, like most cargo planes recently. But that thing is amazing. Like loads of cool features on it, loads of cool stickers that you apply for it. It's just so much fun again. Like I'm loving this line.
Yeah, they definitely have been producing quite the array of options for everybody. I don't really think that they expect anyone to do what you're doing and being all in, buying it all. But if you're a kid, you know, and you walk into the store and you take a look at some of the catalogs that may be included with whatever you get, I think that you could be very addicted very quickly, right? Like right out of the gate, you don't want to have like 20 vehicles and stop it there. And they haven't. You know, they've given a lot of options, which I think could make a kid just salivate looking at those things.
I've been salivating. Also, we haven't mentioned this, but Protection Force are in like a silver color, so very Sky Patrol-y, isn't it? Like, I mean, they're not chrome, but they're in that kind of maybe kind of like not gunmetal, but like metallic silver, I guess, or like a brushed or a matte kind of finish. But
like a Mobat that Megatron transforms into.
Exactly. Ooh, there's another crossover we didn't even think about. Thank you, Pat. Anyway,
like
that's
2 things in one.
Yeah, this is the beauty of Micro Machines. Anyway, that is Micro Machines Series 3, and the reasons why I added it to this is not just because I'm a massive fanboy for it. There are G.I. Joe and Transformers connections there, however loose they may be. Now, speaking of Transformers, and in HasLab Unicron news, Pat, we've had another update, and my bloody goodness, they went into some detail with this video showing extensive, comprehensive paint mask processes in the factory. And I tell you what, if you haven't seen that video now, I'm flashing it up now, but it is really worth checking out. A link in the description, obviously, for that Hasbro Pulse Unboxed video update. But my goodness, Pat, this is very in-depth and shows you the lengths that they've had to go to create this figure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that any time, I'm super appreciative of Hasbro putting this out there. Very, very genuinely thankful. Because we don't really get this kind of a peek into the production process for anything. And I think that it could help fans have a better understanding of exactly what goes into making the figures. And that way, you know, we won't be having unrealistic expectations sometimes. I think that people have a tendency to think of the Lego Factory video that's out there, or maybe Pee Wee Herman waking up in the morning, how everything's very automated. Like, I could just hear that music from Danny Elfman in my head anytime I see the production of these things. But, you know, the Lego Factory for Lego minifigures, those things are so consistent with the way that they are made. You know, the body's almost all the same size. The head is always, you know, that same piece, just with a different tempo. So that is a little easier for somebody to automate.
I love seeing that video of them putting the paint masks faces on the. They've got like a strip of them, like a load of the faces sticking up there, and then on those little balls, they just go. Bloop, bloop.
Yeah, and then they go down in this spiral thing that checks for the faces to make sure that they're not on there, and like a compressed air that just shoots the head out of there if it's a reject. That it just detects it. It's really great to watch that video.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how they've automated that. But with a lot of these other toys, a lot of things have to be put into like those book molds, the stencils.
Oh my god.
And the fact that you get to see that inside the Unicron video, I think really helps people understand, because even collecting pre-production figures, sometimes you'll hear, well, that one's hand painted. It's like, well, it still used the stencil, right? Yeah, but it's hand painted. It's like, well,
they're all hand painted.
So, yeah.
What blows my mind about the mask is that it's so specific to each like panel.
Yeah.
You know, they have to put it in that panel, they spray it, you know, they take it out, they put it in that thing, and they do the same thing for thousands of these things. Of the just, you know, just one Unicron is going to take so long just to get done from like mold to deco. Like from that point to that point, it just takes ages for that one to get finished, and they're doing like thousands of them. It's no surprise it took this amount of money and this amount of and this format of HasLab to get this done, is it?
For sure, yeah, because there's a ton going in here, especially like if you look at a single part and you see more than one color on it. Well, that means that part went into one of those stencils and was sprayed, and then was allowed to dry and put into another one and was sprayed. And sometimes in toys, especially some really higher end things, you'll see 4 or 5 colors all in one piece. And it's like, there's a lot going on there, and that's going to take some time just to let that paint dry. So I think that people have a tendency to just not really notice whenever they're looking at a redeco of something. Sometimes those are like palette swaps. You know, the colors just kind of change, but sometimes the actual design of where the paint is also changes.
Yeah.
People have a tendency to forget that there's that much that goes into it, because that would sometimes entail creating a new book mold or stencil to put on there.
Have you ever seen the Storm Shadow paint mask for his version 2 or even version 3 figures?
What about it?
Have you ever seen the actual paint mask they used for?
I haven't. Why? Is that something that somebody owns?
It's something that I want to see.
Oh, okay.
I want to see it in process. I want to see Storm Shadow getting like the spray job on him and all that kind of stuff. When I see things like this, it makes me want to see like all of the old vintage figures and how they were done. Because again, like you mentioned, things like, you know, multiple color uses on one piece, but there's also like washes and, you know, like a spray that is like just like a very subtle, you know, pass as opposed to actual layer of paint on it, just like, you know, spots and stuff like that. So there's aspects like that I'd love to see in like how they did all the other vintage figures. Sometimes
some of the figures that will have a paint operation missing really call attention to how separated they were. Like I have quite a few figures missing facial hair. Like I think I have an Outback that has like some of the beard paint on, but not the mustache or something like that. So
amazing.
Kind of tells you, hey, you know, that would have been a completely different paint operation, which you would think of the whole thing as just being all one. Then you realize, oh no, his lips have to be not painted. and that would be difficult to actually have that not painted as you paint everything around it.
Yeah.
Those have to be different paint operations. An involved and difficult process. A lot goes into it.
Absolutely. And again, like, if you haven't seen the video, check it out. But Unicron is on his way. I think I got mine's coming in March. I got an email saying, so I cannot wait for that. And they're really saying things like, you've got to make sure you're in, you're going to have to sign for it. And I'm like, well, it's kind of different where I live. We're in an apartment complex. It's like, I'm going to have to, I guess someone's going to be there to sign for it. So I'm hoping everything's going to be okay. But, this is going to be mental. This thing is going to be huge. And I wonder how many people have ordered them in this apartment complex. Because this is like jokingly referred to as the Hasbro Hotel, because there are a number of Hasbro guys and people that live in this apartment complex. So it'd be interesting to see how many of those turn up in the tiny mail room, and that's going to be hilarious. If there's more, even if there's more than one, if there's just two in there, it's going to be impossible to try and get. Anyway, looking forward to that. Pat, better make sure you're in the house that day when that comes.
I'm having it sent to my parents' house just so my mother's usually home. That way I don't have to worry. And then
poor mom's going to have to lift that bloody great big thing.
That actually is a concern, so I may actually have to reroute it to here, but I probably shouldn't. Maybe I'll just have to go over to her house whenever it's due. I don't know.
Mate.
I don't know.
You'll reroute it to Moonbase 2. That's what I would do. Anyway. That's Unicron on his way, and he'll be eating everyone's faces off very soon. And finally, and in rather sad news, earlier in the week we had the very sad passing of Saved by the Bell legend Dustin Diamond, who played Screech Powers on the show. The rather troubled actor has had a pretty rough time of it in recent years, culminating in stage 4 lung cancer that saw him succumb to the terrible disease on Monday. A number of images emerged on social media that showed a young Dustin with quite the incredible G.I. Joe Christmas hauls, which made the whole situation a little bit worse, honestly, for Joe fans. Pat, bloody sad news, obviously, but how awesome was it to see him as a happy child, shall we say, surrounded by all those amazing Joe toys?
I have to say I was a little bit envious of wall of G.I. Joes behind him.
Oh my god, that picture with the flag and the whale and like all those other oh my god, it was just insane, wasn't it?
It was. I always think about that though, as far as celebrities that collected G.I. Joes. I've other celebrities that I've heard of that collect G.I. Joe or like Seth Green, Leonardo DiCaprio was collecting G.I. Joes. So it always just kind of makes me wonder, are there any pictures of them out there with their G.I. Joes? This is great to see a celebrity with their, not only with their G.I. Joes as a kid, but, that moment where they first got them. You could tell that, he's super excited. It made his day. That's the main thing that he wanted. Because that's what mostly he has. And a briefcase. I did notice the briefcase there. I was curious if that was his or somebody else's just Joe stuff.
I saw, funny enough, the first image I saw, once the news broke that he passed away, which was obviously, again, kind of shocking anyway, because I was a huge Saved by the Bell fan when I was a kid. And it was on, it seemed like it was on all the time, in our country, not just the US, but it seemed to be on all the time. And obviously, loved that show, loved him as a character. I always thought he was, quite funny. But obviously in the time since then, he's had a pretty rough time of things. There was the whole book kind of that came out that he apparently kind of didn't put some of the Saved by the Bell actors in the best light. He kind of said that he didn't have the best time on the set and all that kind of stuff, which it saddens me a little bit because you kind of think he was there for 13 years or something stupid like that. You think if you're going to be there that long that it must have been something that he was at least getting something out of, but it seemed like it was a pretty crap experience on the whole for him. So that coupled with the passing away, the way he passed away, and then the fact that all these images started coming out, and then the first one I saw was of him with his Master of the Universe figures. I think it might have been He-Man and Battle Cat or something like that. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I remember him holding one of the Master of the Universe figures and just being like, oh man. And that hit me. And then when the G.I. Joe pictures came out, I was like, oh damn it. Like, it's just like, I don't know, one of us, it felt like, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's odd how, a lot of times in whenever bad stuff happens, you just have to keep in mind what is important, and a lot of times it's just not toys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is something special about toys that give you those connections with people that are important. So, yeah, it's a shame to see this. I would have loved to have noticed these figures a long time ago and maybe gotten, his modern comments on G.I. Joe. That would have been really nice to have heard.
Yeah.
Did he retain his love for G.I. Joe into adulthood, or were these just pictures and he never gave it another thought? Who knows? There
was like a Tumblr or something that this had been out there for a while apparently, and if I'd have known about this, 100% I'd have attempted to contact him to see if he wanted to talk about it, because I think that would have been amazing. Like, he probably, I'm not wondering if he gets kind of like bored or annoyed with talking about, Saved by the Bell and stuff like that. So it would have been really cool to speak to him about that, especially that moment about getting all those toys as a kid, and whether he still, if he was still interested in it or kept an eye on it or still had fond memories of that kind of stuff. That would have been great to know. And I feel like, yeah, we've kind of been robbed of that now, which is a shame.
Yeah, there's so few pictures. It feels like there's so few pictures like this out there. I love seeing vintage pictures of either the toy aisle or vintage pictures of kids opening up their G.I. Joes and Transformers and stuff that I grew up with. So anytime somebody posts those, I'm really curious to hear what their personal experience was or their comments are, regardless of whether or not they were a celebrity. That's what I want to hear. So I'm kind of surprised that I didn't happen across these pictures earlier myself.
Yeah, it's a shame. And anyway, Dustin Diamond passed away last Monday. Obviously, thoughts go to his family and close friends. And it's a shame. It feels like one of us has passed on. And anyway, we'll always have those wonderful memories. And and that's it for this particular segment of the news. Pat, shall we get into shout outs now, mate? Let's get out of the sad and into the happy.
Right.
Let's get into shout-outs then, mainly because I want to put that image of Bullhorn up with his with his massive bullhorn. As always, big shout-out to my wonderful wife Kate and all the family. To Brian Sauer, who continues to create some amazing graphics for us. He's got, again, like next week, you wait. Next week we've got the Valentine's Day special, and Brian's doing something very special for that, so it's going to be amazing. Also, shout out to Dan Klingensmith Jr. and his son Noah for sending me in-game video footage of Snake Eyes in Fortnite, which I used for the news burst. Much appreciated, gents. Thank you so much. And I told him to listen out for a shout out, and also let him know that Noah was getting a shout out as well, because it was his kid who was playing it. So thank you, Noah. Really appreciate that, mate. Also, shout out to Rob Osborne again for sending me the G.I. Joe paper aeroplane Valentines. We are going steady now. And another shout out, but before I do my shout out, it's going to be a combined one, I guess, because Pat also has a shout out, don't you, Pat?
Yes, I do. And again, it's to Philip, week after week, but this time he got me the roughly 2-inch, I guess, figures that we were talking about earlier. So thank you, Philip.
Yes, Philip, thank you very much, because he sent me a picture saying, I just raided my local dollar store. And the picture was just like about like so many of these figures, and I was like, oh, amazing. So he basically hooked us up with sets. So Phil, you're an absolute star for doing that. Thank you so much. And it had been hours that news had dropped, it's like a couple of hours, and I got that message from Phil. I'm like, damn, that guy works fast. So yeah, thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Shout out to Articulated Points. Check out the latest episode on that one. There's a cracker of a StarCom one that we discussed, I think, at the end of the last episode, but is out now for your viewing pleasure, and I'll throw that in the description as well. Really good episode, actually, Pat, where you talk about StarCom, the catalogue, and all that kind of stuff. Some great stuff from the Coleco catalogue, right?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I kind of ended up covering a little bit more than I expected to. I went through all of the unproduced figures in the other Coleco catalog so that I could kind of frame how they pertained to the catalog that I'd just gotten.
Amazing. And it's great. So check it out. Brilliant episode. When's the next one out? What are you doing next?
We've been sticking to at least one per month for the last couple of years. Sometimes it's just difficult to think of what to do. I think that StarCom went over well enough, and I have such a deep love for StarCom. Sometimes I think that when I talk about StarCom, that I go on so long that people are like, yeah, okay, Pat.
Whatever, Pat. Jeez. No, not at all.
But I love StarCom, so I could definitely see myself talking a little bit more about that sometime in the future.
It is a cracking toy line and a brilliant cartoon, and again, I've been watching it recently. I'm up to about episode 7 at the moment, I think I'm at. But like Jay, I just love that cartoon. It's so good still to this day. If you haven't watched it, it's on Tubi. If you have Tubi, which I think most people can get hold of, I think if you just download the app, it's pretty much there. So yeah. Anyway, guys, Pat, you and I. Sorry, usually there's more of us. One more final shout out, and that is to the patrons of the show, listeners and viewers. We appreciate the support so very much, and just a quick nod to the patrons, specifically the SAS and Red Shadow Army, because obviously they're the ones getting Intel episodes. You guys have been getting some great stuff recently. There's more of that to come too. So if you're excited with the stuff that we've been doing on those episodes, there's going to be a lot more coming. And to all of the patrons, even, as again, like our infantry patrons as well, thank you so much for the support. Honestly, it means so much to help with this show and to improve the quality, which has been visibly evident over the last year or so. That is what, the support leads to. It leads to better content, better looking content, better looking presenters, because I can get Pat on.
I thought I was about to get booted.
No, yeah, you're out. We need hotter present. No, not at all. You're the sexiest presenter at the Full Force, mate. And I'll say that now because it's just the two of us on the show. But if everyone else is on, then I can't say that. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for jumping on again for another cracking episode of the Weekly.
Thanks for having me on again.
As always, mate. You're always welcome. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching the Full Force Weekly. Massive thank you to my awesome co-host, Patrick Stewart, NotPicard. See you next time, and as always, you know what to do, Pat. I don't even have to lead us into it. After 3, 1, 2, 3, Full Force! Excellent. Competition time. On last week's show, we were giving away a Target exclusive Special Missions Cobra Island Firefly, courtesy of In Demand Toys. The lucky winner was Ryan Costello. Congratulations, Ryan. You said your favourite action figure version of Firefly was from Sigma 6. No competition on this week's show, guys, but check in next week for a brand new giveaway. Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @The Full Force, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback or questions. We have also started a Patreon page, so if you want to see your name up in lights on these videos or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.